This is Phil Dixon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. Of course, today is the final edition of the year, the December 31st, 2025 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. So I'm just hoping that when I actually start in 2026 that I can remember to say 2026. At the end of the year, you keep on writing 2025 or the year previous for about a couple of weeks, and before you realize it, and it's a new year. And so, anyway, this is definitely a new year, and it's been an exciting year trying to kick this off and just talking to you about a lot of the history that I know. So, I don't want to take too much of your time today. I do want to get into some of these facts. So, and I'm going to show you a few things today as well. So, once again, the weather is always changing, and it seems like it always gets me when it does that. So, we're going to go right through. And I do want to let you know, if you've never seen me before and you like what I'm doing here, go ahead and subscribe. And we try to keep it real over here when we talk about history, especially baseball history, is it relates to the Negro baseball leagues and players. So, all right, so let's jump right in here. December 31st, 1907, Provine Bradley is born in Sibley, Louisiana. Of course, he was a pitcher and he played actually for the 1937 Cincinnati Tigers. Then he went on to the 1938 Memphis Red Sox. And if you remember, Double Duty had the Cincinnati team. He was manager. And I have a great picture. It's a panoramic picture of the team. And I have it signed by Marlon Carter, Double Duty Radcliffe, a few other people. And so he took the nucleus of that team. People like Porter Moss was with them, and Jelly Taylor and Neil Robinson. He took that heart of that team and took it down to Memphis. And that became the legacy of Memphis baseball for probably the next 10 years. So that is an important team that he was playing for because it was a transitional team. And I was just going through some things right here. And I knew Jelly Taylor's brother real well, Turk Taylor. And this is the picture of Jelly Taylor there in his Memphis Red Sox jersey. And Olin Jelly Taylor was his name. And how about this one? This is a picture of the Cincinnati Tigers. I have one other one too. This one has different people on it here, and it just has some of the people who came and left. Let's see, because at one time Shirley Petway was also with them, and so he's on other pictures that I have. So anyway, Porter Moss was there, of course. Who else is anywhere I want to mention? Sonny Sweets Harris was another one. Let's see, but it's got a few other people. I need to probably dig a little bit more into their history. One of them, how about this one? Jerry Gibson, Josh Gibson's brother, was on this picture here. So, yeah, so anyway, that is the Cincinnati Tigers, 1937. And D. Hart Hubbard was the owner of that team, the great Olympian track star. All right. Okay, so we're going to go to the next fact. December 31st, 1910. So we just left 1907. Now we're going to 1910. Okay, and so here the Mortock Baseball Association of Danville, Virginia, one of the best teams of the South, elected officers for the coming season. And this is a good time of the year to get organized. And in your personal life, I don't know what you're doing tomorrow, but I'm sure someone will be making New Year's resolutions. They'll be trying to get organized. And this is what these guys were doing. So these are some names. Maybe you might want to look into them. The president of the league was A.W. Claiborne. Was the president. William Bennett was the vice president. Ferdinand Petros was the secretary. Wiley I. Williamson was the manager and the treasurer. And the board of directors, which they had several members, included James Williams, Carter Price, and Frank Gillespie. So this is a good time, and probably all through January, I have lots of different references of people getting organized for the coming season. But when you talk about this team, the Mortock, Mortock. I bet you never heard of that team. Yeah, so there are lots of teams and lots of players to always discuss when we're talking about the Negro Baseball Leagues. And by the way, if anyone's joining me, by all means, go ahead and let me know where you're listening from. All right. Okay. And if you're picking up on the rebroadcast, feel free to leave a note. Yeah, just leave a statement there. That way I know that I'm listening and you're out there listening to me. All right. So let's keep on going. Let's go to December 31st, 1911. Alfred Saylor, infielder for the Birmingham Black Barons in the early 1940s, is born in Blytheville, Arkansas. Yes, some good ball players came out of Arkansas. One of my favorites, and he ended up passing away in this town, is let's see. Oh shucks, I just like that. I drew a blank on his name. Booker McDaniel. Yeah, he ended up passing away here. Of course, he was an Arkansas-born player, and there are many others too that come from Arkansas. And one of these days I'm going to do a big feature on that. And I know the shortstop Byron Mex Johnson went to Shorter College, and he's another one that's pretty interesting down there as well. So I might end up talking about Shorter College tomorrow because they had a big New Year's Day game, and so I'll probably talk about that one tomorrow. Okay, so let's go. So let's bring it up to some modern things, and then we'll jump backwards. So how about December 31st, 1961? Donell Nixon is born in Evergreen, North Carolina. Anybody know where Evergreen is? Got to look that one up on the map. Now, the Mr. Nixon was an outstanding stolen base artist. How about this one? You ready for this one? In 1983, Nixon stole 144 bases in 135 games. Think about that one. I know years ago, Papa told me that he stole 175 bases in a season, but he said he only got credit for about 90 of them because they kept leaving the scorebook. So I know that these things happen. But here's a guy, I don't know, you'd probably get his autograph. That would be a great autograph to have and a welcome addition to your collection. So that was Donell Nixon. And guess what? The only way you can top that is to come back and steal 100 again. So in 1984, he stole 102 bases with the Double-A Chattanooga Lookouts, right? So he had back-to-back seasons of 100 stolen bases. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And you got to think about this, guys. One of the reasons I love talking about this is because there's a period in baseball history that starts, you know, from when they started segregation in the leagues, and that's at the very beginning of the American and then the National as well, right? And they always try to convince you that these guys could not play in that league. And then what they would do is they would later on they would say, oh, Josh Gibson or Satchel Paige, and they would pick out a few people that they thought they could spotlight. They say, oh yeah, they'd probably be good enough. But guys, what I want you to realize is that I can give you names of ball players who made significant accomplishments in baseball that you don't even know their names. And so if they did that in this modern era, just imagine what those old guys would have done in the previous years before integration. There were some good ball players, and that is one of the reasons why I always fought to get the Negro Leagues to have major league designation, because I always knew they were major leagues. I went to Cooperstown about a couple of years ago, and one of the guys there, he came up to me, and he works for the Hall of Fame, and he was going through some old papers, and he found a letter I had written at Hall of Fame in 1984. And at that time, I was trying to get the Hall of Fame to recognize them as major league baseball players, not just Negro League, but Major League Baseball players. And he's pulling this out the records. So I'm true to this cause because I've always believed that they were major league quality, and no doubt about it. Now it's going to take a lot of you a long time to get that in your head that these guys were this good. But if you would just remember this, that I can name players with significant accomplishments in the major leagues and the minor leagues, and you don't even remember their names. And so that ought to tell you that there were lots of love that you can spread around, because there were lots of people, many people, who could have cut the cake. How about that? They were good enough, all right? So anyway, so Donell Nixon, and you can probably pick his autograph up. He's still around too. All right. So we're gonna go to and go backwards now. December 31st, 1961. Now this is we're gonna talk about a baseball player playing a little basketball here. Reese Goose Tatum and Nathaniel Sweetwater Clifton are back together again, and when their team, the Harlem Stars, take on the New York Rens in Kansas at Fort Riley at the main post field house. Now, if you know anything about the military, you know in Fort Riley, Kansas, that's where they station the Big Red One. So if anything breaks out, that's where a majority of the troops are going to come from that are going to represent our country. The Big Red One, sitting right in the heart of the state. So think about this, guys. Well, let me give you a couple of things that you might not know. Um, During World War One, they established this camp there, and there was a lot of African American soldiers that were in that area, but also a guy by the name of Grover Cleveland Alexander. Now, if you know where K State is, it's in Manhattan, Kansas, and Grover Cleveland actually got married down there during his stay during the World War One. Yeah, so it was a great area. George Sweat was serving down there. Many people. This is where they were landed to do their basic training, and then they went on to Europe to fight in World War One. So the Big Red One is there now in Fort Riley. Their Camp Funston is kind of like just a distant memory now, but it's all in the same territory there. And I was there about 2 years ago, and the museum there is fabulous. When I went to the museum, they had a great exhibit on Jackie Robinson because he was there before he went to Texas and then wouldn't get in the back of the bus. Okay, so he would start out in Kansas at Fort Riley. Joe Louis was at Fort Riley during that time, and so this is a interesting place. And I was there to speak to a group of officers, and they gave me a baseball bat when I finished. It says the Big Red One. And so I was really happy to see it. Now, also, they have a great museum if you ever get a chance to get on base. And of course, one of the things that I really enjoy seeing, because I grew up watching Westerns, right? And they have original Gatling guns. And one of the Gatling guns that they have, of course, I've never seen one except in movies, right? But one of the Gatling guns they had was to go with General Custer. But Custer thought that it would slow him down, so he left it there and did not take it. You know the rest of the story, right? Could have had that Gatling gun, but it would have changed the course of history. But he did not have it. And so, they have two of those Gatling guns there. And so if you ever get it down there, you want to see some real history, go down there. You can see buffalo coats and, actually big, thick buffalo coats that the soldiers used and everything right in the heart of Kansas. All right. So that's the Big Red One. And let's see. Oh, also, when they came with this team, the Harlem Stars, by the way, who were being booked by Tom Baird, who was the owner of the Kansas City Monarchs. At this time, he's the former owner of the Kansas City Monarchs because in 1955, he sold the team to Ted Raspberry, of course. So he is no longer operating the Monarchs. So he's helping Goose Tatum promote this team. And didn't work out too good because Tatum ended up having to sue Tom Baird in relationship to this. I've seen those papers as well. But they are there. And so for the halftime entertainment, now think about this. During the Super Bowl, they have great halftime entertainment. But how about this? During this halftime, they had the Ink Spots. Remember the Ink Spots? They had several songs. If I Didn't Care, Maybe, and Into Each Life, Some Rain Must Fall. Maybe you remember some of those songs, okay? So anyway, yeah, so that was their halftime entertainment, man. They put a real show on the road there. And that was December 31st, 1961. Goose Tatum and Nathaniel Sweetwater Clifton, the guy who broke the color barrier in the NBA, they're back together and they're playing on the military base a day before New Year's, all right? Okay, now this last one I'm going to give you was one that I remember I was in high school. And we always took a subscription to the Kansas City Star. And I remember reading this on New Year's Day. And it was pretty much a shock because I was a fan of his, had watched them in the 71 World Series. And it said that what I read, the article said, Roberto Clemente died in a plane crash, four-engine propeller-driven DC-7 airplane while on a mission to help earthquake-stricken Nicaraguans. Okay, Clemente was one of five persons aboard the plane, passed away. So I remember that, man, like it was yesterday. I was actually playing ball at that particular time, and the Pirates were world champions. They had a great team. They had a really good team. And interesting thing, I lived in American League City, so I rarely saw a National League team. Actually, I only saw one National League team, and it was the Pittsburgh Pirates. And they came to Kansas City and played an exhibition game in the middle of the season against the Kansas City Royals. I need to go back and check the date on that because I definitely was there, and I went down because I wanted to see the Pittsburgh Pirates. The only chance I would ever have of seeing them because we didn't travel that much, and so they had to bring their entertainment in. But they came to Old Municipal Stadium where the Royals had started playing in 1969. They played there till 1972 and 1973. They went to their current home. At that particular time, it was Royal Stadium, and now it's Kauffman Stadium. But yeah, I had a chance to see the Pirates, and so they had a great team back then, and man, just to see these guys. And once again, I was a kid that would get close enough so I could really see these guys, and this was a highlight of my young career. So. Yeah, so Roberto Clemente passed away on this day, and what a great baseball player he was. I don't know how much you know about Roberto Clemente, but you can certainly look him up because there's lots of information printed on him, and he had just gotten the 3,000 hit that end of that year there, and he would have certainly picked up plenty more had he continued to play. So that is Roberto Clemente, passed away on December 31st, 1972. And guys, since I was going through yesterday, I talked about something related to Willie Horton. And so, guys, this is the book here that, and my things are turning around. So it says The Willie Horton Story by Hal Butler. And this one goes back to the 1960s, actually. And so when I'm talking about some of these guys, I'm doing a lot of reading always. And I've always done a lot of reading. And then also, I want to share this with you, too. I was going through different things around my house, and some of these things I'm going to let go, and maybe I'll put them online on eBay, and just get rid of them that way. This right here, this may look really unique here. This is the 1973 Baseball Trading Cups, and this is the scorecard, which is nothing more than a checklist. It lets you know who's in the series, and of course, they have Johnny Bench and Nate Colbert and Ralph Garr, all the stars from 1973. But the interesting thing down at the bottom, what they did was they added 20 Hall of Famers. So Babe Ruth is in there, Ducky Metworth, Lefty Grove, Roy Campanella, Bill Dickey, let's see who's in, Pie Traynor, Bob Feller. So Hannes Wagner's in here. So Red Ruffing, John McGraw, Ty Cobb, Stan Musial. So this is the way, now when I was a kid, this is how I always knew about these white players. Now, if they were to do that same thing today, they would probably put in a few more Negro Leaguers. But according to this set, the only Negro Leaguer in here, and I don't see Jackie Robinson, so it would be Roy Campanella. But when they featured him in here, nobody really knew he was a Negro Leaguer unless you were an old head who'd been following the league. So anyway, this is actually the checklist. Maybe somebody has some of these cups that were issued by 7-Eleven. Yeah. And then the last thing I'm going to share with you today, I was doing some work, and he is one of my favorite baseball players, and I think is one of the, he's grossly underrated as far as a talent. And I was able to pick up his death certificate today because he died in Missouri. And this is Harry E. Buckner. Harry Buckner, man, I can go back. This guy was probably baseball's first great pitcher, great hitter combination. So what you see Shiny Otani doing today, this guy was doing this at the turn of the century. Harry Buckner. And he was the trainer for the Milwaukee team in the American Association. That was a white team. And after his baseball career was over, And so he had gone down to spring training in Hot Springs, Arkansas. He was trying to make it back, and he had gotten sick, and he passed away. And what we had this year, he passed away in. I just had it here. Um, I'm looking for it now. Don't see it, but I will tell you this. It was on March 26, 1938, and it was in Poplar Bluff. That's where it was, Poplar Bluff, Missouri. And he passed away on a Missouri Pacific train. And that's where they take you off. And wherever they took you off is the place that they put is your final death place. And of course, he was originally from Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And now, interesting thing about him is his brother, William Buckner, who was the trainer for the Chicago White Sox, who's going to die probably in less than a year after this. He was the one who was provided the information. So he has like the father's name, Frank Buckner. He has his mother's name, Liza. He didn't know his mother's maiden name, but Buckner lived off of 4822 Langley Avenue in Chicago. And here's the interesting thing. When he came to his brother, and this is one of the sad things about racism and segregation, when he came to his brother, he didn't know when his brother was born. So that means that Harry Buckner played his entire life. He didn't know when he was born. And so his brother, who's giving all this key information, can't even give his brother's birthday. So all it says is here, his age is not known. They said about age 64, about age 64. So it's a guesstimation because I'm certain that he didn't know his birthday. And so that is a sad thing, but it's a sad reality here in America's past. And so the only other thing I might mention, it says that he is buried, and he was buried on March 31st, 1938 in Lincoln Cemetery. And of course, Lincoln Cemetery, I'm going to have to go there and see if he has a marker. But yeah, Harry Buckner, man, he's one of the greats. One of the greats. So look him up. I always tell people, don't take my word for anything. Go ahead and look these guys up. Now, I will ask you to do this. Now, I see a couple of people still here been with me. Let me know where you're listening from. I may have been there. So just put in your city. That would be great. So have you heard of Harry Buckner? Well, I've talked about Harry quite a bit here over the last probably month or whatever. Actually, I've been talking about him ever since I got the broadcast. Started back in about late August. So, yeah, Harry Buckner is one of those guys that you can't get past. His record was amazing, and his accomplishments were out of this world. We'll just say that. Yeah. So, Rube Foster saw him, and he beat Rube Foster many times. He beat major league teams many times and played with some of the best African-American baseball teams that you ever want to see. Hey, can I give you one more item to see? Because I'm out of here. This is, of course, the last broadcast of the year. And I don't think I've ever done this before. I've showed different items, but I don't know if you can see that. But this right here was, it came from a letter that Archie Ware Sr. sent to me from California. He sent me something, and I had sent him something. And so when he sent it back, it had his autograph. So I just cut it out and kept it. And that is my Archie Ware autograph. You know, Archie Ware, if you ever get down to the Negro Leagues Museum, you'll see his little grip that he has and his cup that he wore when he was playing first base is down at the Negro Leagues Museum. But guess what's missing? His autograph. I do have it there. Archie Ware. And a few other things here. Here's one more. Want to see one more autograph? Here's one more. Chet Brewer. Chet Brewer. And this is on one of my baseball cards from 1987. So that's Chester Arthur Brewer. And he is one of my favorites. The first time I went out to Los Angeles, that's who I stayed with, Chet Brewer. So, guys, that kind of does it for me. And that's going to be the wrap on this year. I'll share this broadcast in a moment. But I do want to thank everybody who's subscribed. I know there are people out there who listen. They don't do anything. But I know they're listening. I always know they're listening. So if you're listening and you enjoy this, guys, go ahead and subscribe. We're going to build this network in ways that you can't imagine. And I'm going to keep telling stories and history about the people I met until I can't tell these stories anymore. And I doubt if there's any person living who knew as many of these Negro League ball players as I did, and especially as far back as I did. I remember interviewing Fred Langford, and he had played with Bullet Rogan and Dick Worthworth in 1909. He had played with them. And so I'm interviewing him. He's 90 years old. And I can go on and on and on about guys that I've interviewed 40 years ago who were 90 years old then. Just imagine that, 80 and 90. And so the history I gleaned from them gave me the pride and the enthusiasm to write the things that I've written. And so I've got a number of books out there. You can look up Phil, Phils Dixon, and you can find these books. And by all means, buy one. And guys, we're just going to keep on doing this. And so once again, I really appreciate you all, and I thank you for being a part of this network. Feel free to share the broadcast. If you know someone else who's a baseball fan, a good friend of yours, go ahead and share the broadcast, guys. So that's going to do it. So I hope everybody has a nice New Year's celebration planned. I know I do. And then tomorrow I'll be right back. And of course, there are lots of interesting things that always happen on New Year's Day. So it'll be a time to kick off the new year, the 2026 edition. Just imagine that. And when I think about it, guys, I remember, this is the last thing I want to say, 1980. 1980 was when I first started doing history on the Negro Baseball League. So we're talking about 1980. So just keep in mind, guys, I've been out here for a minute, but I've got a lot of history to share with you. So keep on coming back, and we'll share this. And in the meanwhile, you have a wonderful day, and it's been my pleasure to talk about this history today. So this is Phil Dixon, and this is the December 31st, 2025 edition, the last edition of the year of This Day in Black Baseball History.